Hello and welcome to our Retire Early lifestyle. We've been getting a few people wanting for us to provide some information on coming home after living abroad. We've been telling our viewers since 2013 that you don't have to move abroad to be able to have a good quality lifestyle on a smaller budget. And today we're going to show you some of what we've discovered that's right here in your own backyard. Moving back home plan. We knew for some time that we were going to be moving back to the U.S. It's where we're from. It's familiar territory. All of our extended family live here, and once you've been abroad, well, you saw it, you did it, and now you have the memories. But when you move back home, you have to have a plan. You have to decide what the heck you're going to do, where you're going to live. Will you rent? Will you buy? Will you move back into your home that is now occupied? All of these things need to be considered. We don't know what anyone else's situation is, but ours was we sold our home and then went abroad. This is something that we wouldn't do again, and is why we always tell our viewers, do not sell your home in the States. You may need it someday. Now, we also understand all the reasons why you would sell your home before moving abroad, but that's for a different video. Now, there are so many superficial videos out there that talk about culture shock, reverse culture shock, but that's the least of your worries when coming back to the States. And besides, we don't see any of that. When you're from the USA, there's no shock. It is what it is. The most important and most expensive part of moving back to the States is housing. We have to look at all the options so you can form a plan. So we will discuss the options buy, rent, or rent to buy, which is rent to own. So number one is buy a cheap house. Our options were to either buy a home or rent. Renting a home in the U.S. was out for us. We also considered a rent to own situation, but a few months before we actually were coming home, we decided to buy a cheap, livable house and remodel it, and that's what we're doing with this old house. And it's coming along. We bought this house by looking at the photos and by what the advert said. We never viewed the home in person. Now, we do not recommend buying a home this way because anything could be wrong with the house. The foundation could be crumbling, the roof could be leaking, the house could be infested with termites. So all of these things need to be taken into consideration. The thing that clinched the deal for us was it had an electrical update done on the house a few years prior, and all we had to do was have the electricity turned on. So we cleaned the house for 3 days straight, which was something out of a nightmare, probably worse than a nightmare. And then we had the electric and water turned on, and we moved in 3 days later. So we only paid $6,000 for this cheap old house, and we've already brought it up to about $25 to $30K just by repairing the roof and adding a metal roof, restoring the backyard deck, and cleaning the place up and doing some painting. The yard has spectacular views and it's private. We can also walk to several grocery and hardware stores and restaurants. So it wasn't a bad $6,000 investment. Oh, and did I mention the people are warm and friendly folks, so we feel our investment turned out to be excellent. We're not saying or implying that our viewers should plan for or look for the same thing. Houses in this price range are pretty much non-existent, and usually, even if you do find one, they're not livable. People ask us about that, so we tell you. But we're not expecting that our readers would follow our lead as far as price range is concerned. Of course, a lot of work still needs to be done to this old place, but we have a place to live. We like to say, no rent, no mortgage, which was our plan all along. And so that is what we worked towards before we even left our life abroad. You have to have a plan and stick to it. The disadvantage to buying a cheap old house is it can be a lot of work and it does take a lot of money to fix. In fact, it can be overwhelming at times. You also have to be in pretty good health and know how or learn how to fix things and be able to perform handyman improvements to the home or handy woman. We did this once before with our first fixer-upper, but it didn't need nearly the work that this one does. The bottom line is work within your means and ability, and that is what we're saying here. Take a serious look at your own situation. Take a stock of your resources and abilities and lay out your options. Normally, the way to do things is you look at a property personally if you can, or have a family member look it over for you if you're unable to do it. We would have done that, but all of our family lives in the Pacific Northwest. Number 2, rent to own. But some people don't want the heavy workload of fixing up a cheap old house, and we get that. So the other option is to rent to own. That usually only takes a couple of months rent up front, maybe a small down payment to move in, and as you live in the home, you pay monthly rent and it goes towards the price of the home. Rent to own, also known as rental purchase or rent to buy, is a type of legally documented transaction under which tangible property such as furniture, electronics, cars, home appliances, engagement rings, and real property, which is real estate, is leased in exchange for a weekly or monthly payment with the option to purchase at some point during the agreement. The disadvantage to this is most of the time these types of deals are overpriced homes, and the seller's having a difficult time selling it for whatever reason, and they just want to get rid of it, so subsequently they sell these homes as a rent to own, marking up the price to the retail buyers. Number 3, owner finance without a bank. Owner finance without a bank means the seller is the bank or the lender. They will lend you the money to buy their home. How it works, as an example, let's say the home's worth $200,000. The seller may want $25,000 to $30,000 down with payments of $950 for the remaining balance. You should negotiate the price of the home. Never ever take the asking price unless the seller has stated price is non-negotiable or he's firm on the price. The contract should be amendable to both parties getting what you want. There are many different strategies you can use to buy a home. Depending on your situation, if funds are tight, which is why many but not all people go abroad, then you will want to focus on distressed properties. There are many owner finance homes one can purchase without using the banks. The owner will want to make sure you have the income to enter into such a deal, and you will have to provide that proof before purchase. Heads up also, the seller will also do a credit check to make sure you have paid off your loans in good time in the past. Remember, they're trusting that you will be making that payment each month. The disadvantage for us in doing an owner finance is the being in debt thing. Here again, we strive to stay out of debt, and so far it has worked great for us. No rent, no mortgage, no debt. That's freedom to us. If we want freedom, we have to do the things in a way that benefits our lifestyle. Being in debt is the opposite of financial freedom. The other options are you can buy a cheap mobile home in a nice mobile home park. You can buy a tiny house and stick it on a plot of land. Or you can rent. This is expensive in the U.S., but, maybe you can find something, for a good price. Basically, those are your options. So which sounds the most interesting and plausible for you to overcome? Next on your plan is which state do you want to live in? Everyone has their own preferences for weather, climate, political environment, crime level tolerance, jobs, transportation, etc. You need to make a list of what is important to you and then stick to those areas in the U.S. Many of our viewers are retirees and they go for the warmer weather, plus peaceful lifestyle, maybe by a lake or a coastal area. Retirees don't have to move to the cities where the jobs are plentiful because they've done that already. Most retirees just want a peaceful environment with little crime, nice mild weather, good variety of restaurants and shops, and walking spaces like parks and walking trails. 5 beautiful states come to mind that would work for the warmer weather, and those states would be Texas, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Tennessee. And the peaceful setting comes in by choosing a city with a population no larger than 30,000 people. Once you get above that in population, you're looking at higher crime, more traffic, higher costs, etc., etc. Another bonus we would want is this city to not be any further than, say, 30 miles to the coast or be on or near a lake. We may be mature folks, but we still enjoy nature walks, hiking, swimming, and enjoying beautiful sceneries, right? Anything further north, you would be getting into possible snow and much cooler weather. Finding that perfect little spot in one of these states I mentioned will take some research though. Maybe we could do a part 2 if people like this video. Let us know in the comments. Most importantly, however, one may want to be near family, and if none is available, start thinking of being near or in a loving community. Not necessarily an over 55 housing development, but if that's your thing, that would be fine too. The younger folks, however, need to work, and so their sights will be towards the bigger cities with more work opportunities. Any bigger city in any of the greater United States would be a solution for finding work. However, maybe you have personal preference that would lead you to prefer the Northwest or the Northeast part of the United States. You also might want to look at the states that have no income taxes if you're going to be working or starting your own business enterprise. In case you're wondering, these 9 states have no income taxes. That's Alaska, Nevada, Wyoming, South Dakota, New Hampshire, Tennessee, Washington, Texas, and Florida. Make your personal preference list. It may include the weather, political environment, crime levels, activities in the community, and entertainment venues, and then start researching for your paradise in the USA. We recommend, no matter what age you are now, to add to your retirement portfolio, even if it's only $10 or $20 a day, and even if you're already retired. I know it doesn't seem like much, but it adds up quickly and can be used for those little-known emergencies that sometimes arise in our lives. And of course, if you can save thousands at the end of the month, put it in one of your asset portfolios. Diversify your monies and put it where you feel you can trust the most so you will feel good about where you're putting your money. And lastly, the U.S. is expensive, but there are many ways a person can save on their cost of living by looking again at all of your options. We realize it is more difficult for people who have high standards and they don't want to make any allowances, and so instead of finding ways they can save, they move abroad looking for that cheaper lifestyle and better quality of life. We want to reiterate once again that a renewed appreciation for your own land precedes all of the other ideas mentioned so far, and that once you have that, where there is a will, there is a way. Don't lose hope. Well, that's it for now. We hope you enjoyed this information today. Stay safe as always, be blessed, take care, and bye-bye.